Welcome to the Rocket Roof Show, where we equip fellow roofers to do more commercial business every first and third Thursday of the month. It's time to launch your business to the next level.
This is Project Command. Stand by power transfer.
3, 2, 1, blast off!
Welcome back to another episode of the Rocket Roof Show with your host, Andy Neer with Empire Roofing Contractors. And I'm honored to be the guest of this show here, where we pride ourselves in equipping and educating contractors for the commercial roofing industry. And today I have a guest with me that I've known for a number of years, and I've met a number of years ago in a seminar, and he taught the class. And his name is Paul Scelsi. He actually taught me how to pronounce his last name. It's a little tricky. And he is the marketing and communicating manager with AirVent. You guys might have heard of that company. But really why I brought him on the show is what he does outside of that is teaching and training on how to give great presentations, and actually wrote a book. And correct me if I'm wrong, it's Grab and Hold Their Attention.
That's correct. Yes.
So welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Thank you, Andy, very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, Andy.
You're welcome. And before we get started, if you could just go ahead and give me a little background on what you do. How did you get involved in the construction industry? And
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I joined AirVent in 1996. Philadelphia kid growing up in Philly. I was offered a position with AirVent based in Dallas, and I moved to Dallas. And 2 years into the job, AirVent launched these seminars, which is where I met you, and we've been doing them since '98. Best practices in residential attic ventilation. It was that seminar program, and it continues today. This year it was virtual seminars because of the pandemic, but it was that seminar that allowed me to enhance my presentation skills. And thanks to gracious attendees like yourself, Andy, who said, "You have a knack, Paul. You have a knack for taking a topic, attic ventilation, not really that exciting, let's be honest, and making it exciting." And long story short, those comments fueled me to write the book, and it's a passion of mine. So I wrote a book on how to present a message in a compelling way, hopefully. And that's what the book's about. And I think that's what caught your attention also for this podcast.
Yeah. On a side note, if I just kind of give a personal one thing that I remember from, or it was actually two things I remember that you taught me back in that seminar. I think it was like 2002. And that was, I was never big on selling upgrades or offering people upgrades. And I remember in the class, you're like, shame on you if you're not doing that. And I'm thinking, what does he know? And I remember you saying to the class, like, what happens if your customer 2 years later comes and says, hey, my neighbor got his house done, and they got these cornices and they got this special wide trim, and why didn't you let me know about that stuff? And then you'd be like, now you didn't do them a good service.
Right. And you stand out in a bad way because of that, potentially. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, Andy. And I'm not a roofing contractor. I'm not a commercial contractor. I'm not a roofing contractor, but I talk to a lot of people in the industry, and that was a tip shared with me that I pass on to audiences.
Yep.
And which I really like doing that. I like talking to the industry and then sharing what we hear, what we learn.
Yep. And the second thing we learned, I remember from you that from this day on, I remember from that day on, I remembered there was like 20 of us in the room, and you said, how many of you guys are owners or foremen of the company? And, we all raised our hand because we're all their managers, and there was only like half of us that had our insignia on our shirt. And you're like, why aren't you guys wearing insignia on your shirt? And you're like, shame on you for not representing your company. We're in a hotel today. We're in a city. Why aren't you wearing your company logo on? And I remember like, oh, thank goodness I'm wearing mine today, because I didn't.
It's an opportunity to brand.
Yep.
Yeah, represent the brand.
Yep.
If you want to represent the brand.
Yep. Well, I just wanted to say a quick thank you. Those stuck with me for the last 18 years.
That's awesome. Thanks, Andy.
Of what you said in that seminar. So, and I'm sure your training skills have gotten way better since then even. So let's dive into today's topic. Today's topic, we're talking about presentations. whether you're an estimator or a sales guy or the owner of the company, taking a lead call or going and doing the initial estimate or submitting the estimate with a pitch or doing a follow-up later on, we're all in that sales mode, right? We're trying to close the deal. And it all comes down to, a lot of it was presentation, body language, words. And so I really want to ask you some questions on how we can, as contractors, because a lot of times contractors, we're just rough and gruff and, you know, we don't know any better. And so you prepared for some questions?
Sure, I am. Yeah, let's do it.
What got you to being the presentation guru that you find yourself in? I mean, you kind of said that a little bit, but I know you've really honed in on it the last couple of years.
Sure, absolutely. So it's been the ability to offer these seminars, do these seminars for 23 years now. Every first quarter, we do them in the winter when roofing typically is slower in northern climates, in particular, Michigan, for example. And, you know, we do like 30 of these a quarter times 23 years. So I've been able to just be able to be in it, doing it, and get better at it, hopefully, just by doing it. So yep. It's been, being the host of those seminars has enabled me to enhance my skills as a presenter.
Yep. So the book you did, the book you wrote, which, I mean, you're probably going to be one of the first, like me, you're going to say, well, I'm not really an author, but, you know, I have this knowledge that I want to help get out to people. So you wrote a book called Grab and Hold Their Attention. I'm halfway through it and I really like it. But it's divided into two separate areas, content and presentation.
Yes.
In your mind, which is the most important for a commercial roofer to be successful in making the pitch and why?
Yeah, thanks, Andy. Yeah, the book is divided into two halves. And honestly, Andy, I believe they're equally important. I believe you have to have substance to your message. The commercial contractor, okay, what's your message? What's the message you're trying to get across to whoever it is you're talking to, the building owner, the maintenance manager, whoever is your audience? Your message has to have substance, value, importance. And then when that piece of the puzzle is to your liking, you got to deliver that message in a compelling, dynamic manner. And the reason I say they're equally important, Andy, I could have the best message in my mind that's impactful, it's going to make a difference in your life, but I deliver it in a dull manner. Well, it might hit some people, but it won't hit as many people as it could because I delivered that important message dully. If I could flip the page, let's say I don't have a great message. My message is not well crafted, but I'm a dynamic, animated presenter. Well, that guy's got a lot of energy, but what was the message? What was important about that? But if you can blend the two of those, powerful message delivered dynamically, I think you've got something that's going to pop a lot of punch. So if I could summarize it, they're equally important in my view. Quality content delivered dynamically.
And I think a lot of us experience this. I know sometimes when I go to an all-inclusive resort or something in the Caribbean, and sometimes there'll be somebody off to the side selling like timeshares or some kind of thing you can go do. And if the guy is not like, if he's just dull and not enthusiastic, it's really easy to blow him off, just brush him off.
Yes.
But if he has enthusiasm, even though you're like, I know this is totally not what, but you'll listen to him.
Yes.
You'll get sucked in because he's giving you value. He's enthusiastic.
Right. And Andy, you remind me of something. Even though I believe they're equally important, you could probably get the audience to hang on a little bit longer if you have a lot of energy and you're dynamic. But at the end, they're going to come back to, but what is the message? So you could probably get them to listen a little bit longer with your enthusiasm, but you better be eventually delivering content that's got some substance, some meat and potatoes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As an expert in presentation techniques, how would you suggest a commercial roofer prepare for a presentation to a single person?
Thank you for calling me an expert. That might be a little bit generous, but thank you. You know, Andy, you know what I do? I step back. If I were the person, if I were the audience member, if I were the building owner, if I were the maintenance manager, I talked to a lot of roofing contractors. If I were the roofing contractor, what is it that I would want, expect, need from this message? And I make some notes. And then I deliver those notes in a compelling manner. Now, that's my assessment. What if my assessment is wrong? Well, I believe you have to follow up post meeting if you can. Hey, was that on the mark? Did I help you today? Was that information helpful? And that might be easier to do than not. But I think you can make a point to try and follow up. Did your message connect? So one, I step back and put myself in their shoes. What is it that I would expect? Deliver that, and then follow up. Did I deliver something that was meaningful to you? And then, Andy, I think it's important to adjust if you're learning that message wasn't working.
Did you know Andy Neer has been using Top Roof Marketing for the commercial roofing division of his business for more than 3 years? If you're not happy with the results you're getting or haven't looked into all the ways out there to grow your commercial business, take a look at toproofmarketing.com. They can show you solid data to back up the proven strategies they use to get their clients more commercial business year after year.
So is it different when presenting to a group or a committee?
Thank you. Interesting question. For what it's worth, I prefer groups. I struggle with one-on-one meetings because by default, in my opinion, there's a little extra buzz in the room with a group, with a committee. Just more bodies in the room. There's a little bit more excitement. But I had a colleague a long time ago pull me aside who noticed I wasn't as animated for the small group as I was the day before for the large group. You got to forget who's in the room, the quantity of people. One person, 101 people. Somebody's there. They deserve your best. So it isn't different in the sense that you still have to have good content. You got to deliver that content dynamically. But I do believe there is more energy in the room with a group, and you can feed off of that energy, and it can fuel you. Don't get trapped in the thinking or dismissing, well, it's only Andy. It's only Andy in the meeting. Andy doesn't need Paul's best. No, Andy deserves Paul's best today. That would be my recommendation, if that makes sense, Andy, to not get caught in, well, one person doesn't need my best. I can roll through this without my best. Bring your best, 1 or 101 people.
I know sometimes we get bored of telling our story or our presentation or our pitch because we've heard it a dozen times. We've heard it 100 times. But we got to remember to the person we're talking to, it's always the first time.
Yeah, that's so awesome, Andy. I'm a culprit of that. Yeah, I've been doing this similar presentation for quite a while. And although I have a natural enjoyment for presenting, let's be honest, week 6 of 12-week schedule, you might be like, I take a little walk, Andy. I do. I take a little walk 5 minutes before the meeting, and I have a little pep talk. This isn't always necessary, but sometimes it is. Pep talk, and I pretend somebody special, extra special, is in the room. My sister, my wife, my mom, and whatever it's going to take to get you excited if you're not feeling naturally excited.
Okay. So I have a little bit of experience on the other side of the aisle where I was on the village council here for 6 years, and I was also a trustee at our church for a number of years. And so, I was on a committee where proposals were brought to us. And I remember the feeling, maybe it was just me, but I'm assuming the other members felt the same way, I'm not really sure what that road paving company is talking about. I don't know what grade 2 asphalt is. I don't know what this stuff, but I was like, maybe Dan knows what he's talking about, or maybe Paul knows, but I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm like, half of these committee members are probably just as clueless as I am. And they're just making a decision based on the small bit of information they have here. Whereas when we're a roofer and we're presenting it to a committee, sometimes we have this idea that they're all so smart and knowledgeable and they've got all this research and I'm not going to present good enough. And, we got all this negative stuff in our head thinking the wrong things, when really the people on the committee, they know nothing about roofing. They know nothing about venting.
No. That's a good point, Andy. And what I think is helpful is to assume that your audience has a very baseline level of knowledge at the best.
Yeah.
And if you can reduce your message, and I don't mean reduce in a bad way, if you can bring it to a very basic, easy to understand manner, and then raise the complexity as necessary based on the line of questioning during the meeting, or you get advance notice, okay, Andy, Tom, and Sam are pretty advanced. You can leapfrog to the more advanced content. So you got to do a little homework maybe ahead of time. Who am I going to be meeting with? What's the level of knowledge? But if you don't have any of that knowledge ahead of time, I like to assume there's basic knowledge.
Yep.
And I keep the message at a base level.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So are visuals an important part of presentation in your opinion?
Yes, they are very important. And I'm a big fan of using visuals. So
I don't know what I would do without visuals.
Right? Yeah. In my opinion, Andy, a visual can help drive home a message that you're explaining, whether it's a product sample or some kind of a visual in a slideshow, maybe it's a short video clip, but the visual can help either further explain your message, connect the dots for your message, just kind of really seal the message. But I would caution, Andy, that don't let the visual become a crutch. Like the visual is not the message. The visual is a tool to help your message. You're the message and what's in your mind. But yes, a visual can assist your message.
Doesn't it also validate your message a little bit by? I know sometimes people will believe a picture more than words.
Yes, yeah. There's an expression. A picture tells it. Yeah, 1,000. Yeah, a picture, a visual can definitely validate your message, and solidify the message for sure. I agree with that.
And some people are more analytical, but some people are more visual people. I'm a very visual person. I have a hard time reading from text and stuff.
Yes.
But graphs and pictures, I learn.
I'm equally a visual learner myself, Andy. So keep that in mind. Your audience could be very visual too. Visuals can definitely help.
So do you do a lot of research when preparing for presentations, or is the information generally already in your head and you just organize your thoughts?
You know, I do research. Sounds real formal, and I know you don't mean it that way. I prepare. I try to prepare. I tried to prepare for this interview with you to a certain level. I believe it's important to prepare, at least to the extent, okay, what is the person expecting I'm about to meet with? And if you call that research, I'm going to call it research. It's definitely preparation. Mm-hmm. And the more frequent you do it, then you're building your foundation of research. So if I may, Andy, I believe that research, if I'm using that word, includes self-assessing. How did that meeting with Andy go? The meeting's over. We've said our goodbyes. Take a minute or two. How did that go? Did Andy look lost when I was talking to him? Was he looking at me? Did he look like he was doodling or distracted? And he might be distracted for a variety of reasons. But if he's distracted because I wasn't connecting, well, then I want to correct that for tomorrow's chat with building owner Bob. So that's part of the research. That's part of the prep. Yep. Evaluating how you did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So going back to your book, Grab and Hold Their Attention. I know you wrote that with a lot of passion because probably what you do comes naturally to you. And you have a certain knack and talent for it. And when you have that, it's kind of hard to convey or teach other people that doesn't necessarily come as natural to. So when you're talking to those people, like what hopes do you see that they might get better at, even if it's just a small thing?
In presenting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Andy. At the minimum, I hope to convey that we all have messages. Whatever industry you're in, commercial roofing, residential roofing, health and fitness, finance, whatever it might be, we have messages. You can convey your message in an easy to understand, memorable manner that leads the action. Whatever the action is, let me do your commercial roof. Let me be the one that gives you guidance financially. Let me be the one that helps you get more fit. That's what I try to convey to people, is that we're all messengers to a certain extent. And if you could step back and boil it down to digestible, easy to understand moments conveyed dynamically, your audience is going to remember it and hopefully take action, whatever the action is that you're hoping they take.
Yep. I like that. So
thank you.
I know you didn't comment too much on this, but I really think you stand out because of your positivity and your enthusiasm. It's just, it's contagious. And so a few years ago, I read a book that really changed how I do my presentations. And that is a book called How I Went from Failure to Success in Sales by Frank Bettker. I don't know if you ever read that. But
no, I have not. I might need to.
He was a real estate salesman, but it correlates to all sales on how enthusiasm really plays a big part on, and you talked about not being dull, but can you speak to me about how much does being enthusiastic and positive and just energetic, how much does that lend to presentations?
Boy, Andy, and I didn't know this until audience members spoke up. I'm naturally a bit animated, Italian descent, and I'm just a high energy guy. And these seminars are usually in the morning. I'm a major morning person. So all these factors are coming together that I'm naturally energetic. But when attendees come up to you afterward, Paul, you took what on the surface is pretty darn boring attic ventilation, and you made it pretty energetic and easy to understand. When enough people say that to you, that means that the energy is connecting with the audience.
Yep.
And now you still have to have substance. You still got to have substance, but the energy can really, really carry through. I would recommend that you try your best to be energetic about your topic.
Yep.
Or find a topic that you are energetic about.
Right. Right. That's right. So, in closing, people wanted to get in contact with you and ask you any questions or maybe buy your book. Can you give us some information on how to contact you or where to go to buy the book?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Andy, very much. So the book is titled Grab and Hold Their Attention. It's available on Amazon as either a paperback or an ebook. And I have an email address. It's pscelsi at pscelsi64@gmail.com. Maybe we can show that or as a link. But yeah, I'm readily available through YouTube. I'm on YouTube videos out there, and I welcome any kind of contact. It's a passion of mine, public speaking and messaging. And I would love, I have a little phrase: stand out, be memorable, and cause action. Commercial contractors, you can stand out, you can be memorable, and cause action. They're going to hire you for that commercial roof. They're going to find you because you stood out in your message to your client, to your customer.
Yep. Thanks,
Andy.
Yep. Hey, you're welcome. I mean, if it wasn't for sales and presentations, not very many jobs would get sold, right?
Yes. Yeah. I really like, Andy, that you have mentioned multiple times. And again, I said it earlier, presentation sounds formal. It doesn't have to be formal. You're presenting when you're communicating with the client, with the customer.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So thank you for being on today. I'm sorry, I'm getting over a little bit of a sickness here, but thanks for being on today. Thanks for taking the time. I know we had a little bit of a bump getting our schedules together, but really thank you for taking your time out of your schedule and being on with us today. It's very helpful.
You're welcome. Yeah. Thank you, Andy. It's a pleasure to be here. I enjoyed the time together, and thank you very much for your time and the opportunity.
Hey, you're welcome. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Andy. Stay well.
You've been listening to the Rocket Roof Show podcast. Be sure to subscribe through your favorite podcasting platforms such as iTunes or Google Play to get the latest episodes as they are launched. For more, please follow us on social media or visit our website at rocketroofshow.com. We look forward to joining you here again soon at the next launch.